I am Dr. Laura Moreno, and in this video, I want to talk about something very common, very uncomfortable, and often very confusing: urinating a lot. Many people say, I've always been like this, or I just drink a lot of water, so it's normal. And sometimes that's true. But in many other cases, frequent urination is the body's way of signaling that something needs attention. Urinating a lot is not a diagnosis, it is a symptom. And like most symptoms, it has many possible causes, ranging from completely harmless to more serious conditions that should not be ignored. First, it's important to clarify what urinating a lot actually means. It's not only about the total amount of urine in a day, it also includes how often you go, whether you feel urgency, whether you wake up multiple times at night to urinate, and whether you feel like your bladder never fully empties. These details matter much more than a single number. One of the most obvious and common causes is simply drinking a lot of fluids. If you consume large amounts of water, herbal teas, coffee, sodas, or alcohol, your kidneys will naturally eliminate the excess. In these cases, the urine is usually light-colored, there is no pain, and there are no other symptoms. This is a normal response. However, things become more interesting when you are urinating frequently even though you are not drinking much, or when the frequency feels excessive compared to your usual pattern. Caffeine is one of the most underestimated contributors. Coffee, tea, energy drinks, and even some sodas stimulate the bladder and increase urine production. Many people drink caffeine daily and forget that it has a diuretic and bladder-irritating effect, especially when consumed several times a day. Alcohol works in a similar way. It increases urine production and also reduces the body's ability to regulate fluid balance properly. That's why people often urinate much more after drinking alcohol, even if they haven't consumed large volumes of liquid. Stress and anxiety can also make you urinate more often. When the nervous system is activated, the bladder becomes more sensitive. Some people feel the urge to urinate even when the bladder is not very full. This is especially common during periods of emotional stress, tension, or nervousness. Now let's move to causes that deserve closer attention. One of the most important causes is diabetes. When blood sugar levels are high, the body tries to eliminate the excess glucose through the urine. This pulls water with it, leading to frequent urination and large volumes of urine. This is often accompanied by intense thirst, dry mouth, fatigue, and sometimes unexplained weight loss. Many people ignore these signs for a long time. Diabetes does not always cause pain. Urinating frequently, especially at night, can be one of the earliest warning signs. There is also a condition called diabetes insipidus, which is unrelated to blood sugar. In this condition, the body has difficulty regulating water balance, leading to the production of very large amounts of dilute urine and constant thirst. It is less common, but when present, it causes extreme urinary frequency. Kidney-related issues can also change urination patterns. The kidneys play a key role in filtering blood and regulating fluids. When they are not functioning properly, you may notice urinating more often, less often, or changes in urine appearance. Early kidney problems may not cause pain, which is why changes in urination should not be ignored. Urinary tract infections are another common cause, especially in women. They often cause frequent urination with small amounts of urine, urgency, burning, discomfort, or pressure in the lower abdomen. Infections should be treated promptly, as delaying treatment can lead to complications. Overactive bladder is a condition where the bladder muscle contracts too often or at the wrong times. This leads to frequent urination and urgency, sometimes even leakage. The bladder itself may be healthy, but its signaling is exaggerated. Hormonal changes can also play a role. Pregnancy, menopause, and certain hormonal fluctuations can affect bladder sensitivity and fluid regulation. During these periods, frequent urination can appear or worsen. Enlargement of the prostate in men is another important cause. As the prostate grows, it can press on the urethra and interfere with normal urine flow. This often leads to frequent urination, especially at night, a weak stream, or the feeling of incomplete emptying. Certain medications increase urine output as well. Some blood pressure medications, heart medications, and others have diuretic effects. If frequent urination started after a medication change, this connection should be considered. Sleep disorders can also be involved. Poor sleep, sleep apnea, or fragmented sleep can affect hormones that regulate urine production, leading to more nighttime urination. Now let's talk about practical solutions, because understanding causes without action doesn't help much. The first step is observation. Notice how often you urinate, when it happens, how much you drink, and whether there are other symptoms like thirst, pain, fatigue, or changes in urine color. Patterns are very important. Reducing caffeine and alcohol intake is one of the simplest and most effective steps for many people. Even small reductions can make a noticeable difference. Spacing fluid intake throughout the day instead of drinking large amounts at once can help the bladder function more smoothly. Drinking most fluids earlier in the day may reduce nighttime urination. Managing stress and nervous system activation is also important. Relaxation techniques, breathing exercises, and stress reduction can reduce bladder sensitivity in stress-related cases. If diabetes is a possibility, checking blood sugar levels is essential. Frequent urination should never be ignored when combined with excessive thirst and fatigue. Paying attention to sleep quality matters. Improving sleep routines can reduce nighttime urination. Pelvic floor exercises can help in cases of bladder overactivity or weakness. These exercises improve bladder control and reduce urgency over time. However, it's important to be clear. Persistent or worsening urinary frequency should always be evaluated, especially when it is new, severe, or accompanied by pain, blood in the urine, fever, or significant changes in energy levels. Urinating a lot is not something you should simply accept as normal without understanding why. The body uses urination as a way to maintain balance, and changes in that pattern are meaningful. Listening to this symptom early allows you to address simple causes before they become bigger problems and to detect more serious conditions while they are still manageable, helping you take practical steps that support your health and give you clarity instead of uncertainty as you continue to observe how your body communicates its needs. And as you continue to observe those patterns, it becomes clear that frequent urination often reflects how the body is trying to restore balance. The bladder and kidneys respond not only to fluid intake, but also to hormones, nerves, metabolism, and even emotions. That's why this symptom can feel so confusing and inconsistent from one day to the next. Nighttime urination, for example, deserves special attention. Waking up once may be normal for some people, especially as they age. But waking up 2, 3, or more times every night is not something to normalize. This pattern, known as nocturia, can be related to blood sugar problems, kidney issues, sleep disorders, fluid redistribution from the legs when lying down, or hormonal changes that affect urine production at night. Many people assume nighttime urination is simply part of aging, but that assumption often delays evaluation. Age alone does not explain frequent nighttime urination. There is usually a reason behind it. Another important detail is the volume of urine. Passing large amounts of urine each time points to different causes than passing very small amounts frequently. Large volumes suggest excess fluid elimination or problems with water regulation. Small volumes with strong urgency suggest bladder irritation or overactivity. The color and smell of urine also provide clues. Very pale urine most of the time may indicate excessive fluid intake or issues with urine concentration. Very dark urine may indicate dehydration. Strong or unusual odors, especially when accompanied by discomfort, can suggest infection or metabolic changes. Pain should never be ignored. Burning, pressure, pelvic pain, or discomfort while urinating are not normal and should not be explained away. These symptoms often indicate infection, inflammation, or irritation that needs treatment. Blood in the urine, even if painless, is always a warning sign that requires evaluation. It is not caused by drinking more water or being stressed. Another often overlooked cause of frequent urination is fluid retention during the day. Some people notice swelling in their legs or ankles by evening. When they lie down at night, that fluid re-enters circulation and is filtered by the kidneys, leading to increased nighttime urination. In these cases, addressing circulation, movement, and leg elevation during the day can help. Hormones play a significant role in fluid balance. Certain hormones regulate how much water the kidneys retain. When these hormones are disrupted, urination patterns change. This can happen with sleep deprivation, stress, or certain medical conditions. Bladder habits also matter. Some people develop the habit of urinating just in case, even when the bladder is not full. Over time, this trains the bladder to signal urgency at lower volumes, increasing frequency. Retraining the bladder gradually can help in these cases. Diet is another important factor. Spicy foods, artificial sweeteners, acidic foods, and carbonated drinks can irritate the bladder in some people. This irritation doesn't cause infection, but it increases sensitivity and urgency. Constipation can also affect urination. A full bowel can press on the bladder, reducing its capacity and increasing the urge to urinate. Addressing bowel habits can surprisingly improve urinary symptoms. Another practical step is reviewing medications and supplements. Some over-the-counter products, including herbal supplements, can increase urine production or irritate the bladder. Physical activity influences urination patterns as well. Sedentary behavior can worsen circulation and fluid balance, while regular movement supports kidney and bladder function. It's also important to recognize when frequent urination is not the main problem, but a sign of something broader. Persistent fatigue, unexplained weight changes, swelling, or changes in appetite alongside frequent urination suggest systemic issues that deserve evaluation. The goal is not to self-diagnose, but to understand that this symptom is meaningful. Ignoring it rarely makes it go away. Understanding it often leads to simple, effective adjustments. Frequent urination can affect quality of life, sleep, concentration, and confidence. Addressing it is not trivial. It is part of taking care of your overall health. When you start paying attention to timing, volume, triggers, and associated symptoms, you gain valuable insight into how your body is regulating itself, and that awareness allows you to make informed choices, seek help when needed, and take practical steps that support balance rather than guessing or accepting discomfort as inevitable. And as that awareness grows, many people begin to realize how long they have been adapting to discomfort without questioning it. Planning outings around bathrooms, limiting travel, waking up exhausted from interrupted sleep, or feeling anxious about not finding a restroom quickly enough often becomes normal over time. But these adjustments are signals in themselves. They show that frequent urination is affecting daily life, not just the bladder. One important aspect to understand is that the bladder is not just a storage organ. It is closely connected to the nervous system. When the nervous system is overstimulated or chronically tense, the bladder can become overreactive. This is why people under constant stress often feel urgency even with small amounts of urine. The bladder is responding to nervous system signals, not to actual fullness. This also explains why frequent urination sometimes improves during vacations or calm periods and worsens during stressful times. The change is not random, it reflects how closely the bladder listens to the brain. Another factor that often surprises people is how dehydration can paradoxically increase urination. When the body is mildly dehydrated, urine becomes more concentrated and can irritate the bladder lining. This irritation triggers urgency and frequent trips to the bathroom, even though overall fluid intake is low. In these cases, balanced hydration, not restriction, is the solution. It's also important to talk about timing. Drinking large amounts of fluid late in the evening almost guarantees nighttime urination. Many people try to catch up on hydration at night, which disrupts sleep. Shifting most fluid intake earlier in the day can significantly reduce nighttime bathroom trips without reducing total hydration. Another overlooked contributor is salt balance. Excess sodium can cause the body to retain fluid during the day and release it at night. On the other hand, very low sodium intake can also disrupt fluid regulation in some people. Balance matters more than extremes. In men, changes in urine flow deserve attention. Straining to urinate, a weak stream, dribbling, or the sensation of incomplete emptying often accompany frequent urination when the prostate is involved. These symptoms tend to progress slowly, which is why they are often ignored at first. In women, pelvic floor health plays a major role. Weak or tense pelvic floor muscles can both increase urinary frequency. Some women urinate frequently because the muscles cannot support the bladder properly. Others do so because the muscles are overly tight and hypersensitive. These are very different situations, but both can improve with proper guidance. Infections don't always present with classic symptoms. Especially in older adults, a urinary infection may cause frequency, urgency, confusion, or fatigue without burning or pain. This is another reason not to rely on one symptom alone. Kidney-related causes deserve special respect because they often develop silently. Early kidney changes may present only as altered urination patterns, subtle swelling, or changes in blood pressure. Pain usually appears much later, if at all. That's why changes in urination should not be dismissed just because they are painless. Hormonal rhythms also influence urine production. Certain hormones normally reduce urine output at night. When these rhythms are disrupted by poor sleep, shift work, or sleep disorders, nighttime urination increases. Improving sleep quality can restore this balance over time. Another practical strategy is bladder retraining. For people who urinate very frequently with small volumes, gradually increasing the time between bathroom visits can help the bladder tolerate fuller volumes again. This process requires patience and consistency, but it can be very effective. However, bladder retraining should never be done when there is pain, infection, or suspected obstruction. In those cases, forcing the bladder to hold urine can make things worse. Keeping a simple bladder diary for a few days can be very revealing. Writing down fluid intake, timing of urination, volume, and associated sensations often uncovers patterns that weren't obvious before. This information is extremely helpful when seeking professional guidance. It's also worth mentioning that frequent urination is sometimes an early signal of conditions that are very manageable when detected early. Addressing them sooner rather than later often prevents complications and reduces the need for more aggressive interventions. The body uses urination as one of its main ways to communicate balance. Changes in that process are rarely random. They reflect shifts in hydration, metabolism, nervous system activity, hormones, or organ function. When you stop normalizing frequent urination and start listening to it as information, you move from frustration to understanding. That shift opens the door to practical solutions, targeted evaluation, and meaningful improvement in comfort, sleep, and overall quality of life, while continuing to explore how small daily choices and body signals connect in ways that are easy to overlook until you pause and pay attention. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming videos where we talk about health in a clear, practical, and calm way. Share this video with someone who might be dealing with the same issue, leave your questions or experiences in the comments, and join me as we continue learning how to listen to the body and take action early to protect everyday health.